Hi there, this is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo. And I'd like to thank all you for listening and that are staying listening. Oh, good. My virus software keeps popping up and making noise during the podcast. I hope you can hear me fine there. This is episode is based solely based. I'm going to start on a rumor. Uh, as of yesterday, which was June 26th, Friday, June 26th, Miami-Dade County will be closing all its beaches on July 4th. The I think that's the same for Broward. Broward might be, but their beaches are closed. They're canceling fireworks and all that stuff. And as of the moment, they have, I think they may have canceled the parade here. They might be having a boat parade, which I hope it doesn't come out to be like a political one, but I think it will. I think it's the people from the birthday party guy. They had a parade for Trump supporters to celebrate Trump's birthday, kind of like Kim Jong Un thing they had going. So on July 4th, Miami's doing its best to combat the spread of COVID 19. As of yesterday, there was 9,000 new cases in Florida. Um, Monroe County is on its way to doubling its existing. But I'm not talking about that. I heard a rumor, which was the rumor is exciting. And I mentioned in a previous episode that conspiracy theories are great. Are great. But let me put a disclaimer. I have no facts right now. All I have is several people saying they heard that the county, and I assume by when they mean the county, they mean the Board of County Commissioners, Monroe County Board of County Commissioners, will consider reinstituting the checkpoint starting on July 5th, would be next Sunday. Today is Saturday. Next Saturday is the 4th, and Sunday. So people that leave would have to come back. They'd have to show that they work here or have long-term rentals or have business dealings in the Keys on July 5th. Now, there's a firestorm of people that, whether they agree with it or not, that's not the point right there. I wanted to talk about the calculations that are made if that is a true thing that's going to happen. If July 5th, they are actually considering that, and I have several things. But I drew a comparison to Amity, the town of Amity and Jaws. And if you remember Jaws, that right before, a week or so before, they don't really tell you the timeline, but I imagine it's a week or two before July 4th, the a shark attack occurs. Not everyone's sure it's a shark attack because when it happens, they initially listed as a shark attack, and then the medical examiner or whoever the guy is, the doctor, changes it back to a boat accident in order to keep the story from getting out that there was a shark active in the waters. And so we're going to talk about that a little later. But right now I want to talk about this. So in Miami, we know that the counties north of Monroe County, which we are directly attached to, the lifeline goes right into Miami-Dade. So with Monroe County still being open on the 5th, just for my listeners out of state, they closed on the 5th. On the 26th, yesterday, they closed all the bars. And that are places that have less than 50% of their sales are food. So bars are places primarily for people to drink. So there's several establishments that were affected in the Upper Keys. Mainly, a lot of them were affected in the Key West. And we did see, we're starting to see videos come out of that. We see a lot of videos coming out of Key West with the mask and all that stuff. And we did a show about the mask and how it's happened. But it's getting harder and harder for the people to say that it's nothing right now because of the explosion. Now, the deaths the deaths aren't following as much at the moment as the new infections, but they say deaths follow those numbers, increased infections. But there's a possibility that the COVID-19 changed and that it's not as lethal, or it's not as lethal because as many of the people catching it right now are younger people. That's neither here nor there. I'm just discussing that baseless rumor, which I find it very interesting. And since it's a podcast, I can do it. I'm not being irresponsible. I did say that disclaimer that I have no proof that the county is considering closing, doing a checkpoint on July 5th, but I want to talk about the thinking that would go behind a decision like that. And I hope to shame, if they're considering something like that, I hope they would think about the calculus that would go into deciding why July 5th would be the appropriate time. Now, if it's because of business and giving people a last bite at the apple, the percentages that they would make this week will sustain them for a week. If you're going to close on July 5th, will sustain them for a week or two. That'll be it. We need long seasons. We don't need peak. There's some businesses that may do a lot, like boat rental, B&Bs. Some of these hotels get to charge peak. They jack their rates up, maybe 2 or 3 times as much, require longer stays. But restaurants, they charge the same amount no matter what, and all you're doing is increasing volume. And if you're saying that you would consider that you'd close down on July 5th, then you're saying that there is a need to close down because of infections. But if you're picking an arbitrary date like July 5th, you're picking something artificial because of the holiday and the increased traffic down here, that people's economic well-being is much more important than their health or physical well-being, their physical well-being. So that's the calculus you have right here. How much money you're going to make, how dangerous is it going to be for the people down here, and you're weighing it. And you have people that are filing lawsuits against you because, no, you can't close it. They're very vociferous about it. They're very angry because it affects their pocketbook. And some people value money and financial health directly over their physical health or the physical health of their neighbor. That's what you're doing when you do something like that. That's the calculus you have to put in. If you're going to build in, the equation is the volume of tourists that will be down here on July 4th and that week, starting maybe this week because Saturday, because you can't really cancel it. The reservations are in. You'd be asking people to give money in and stuff like that. So that calculus would be, let them make their money for this week, and July 5th will reinstitute it. Now, other people will come and say, don't worry about that July 5th date, because first of all, there's the naysayers that will say, well, there's so many people that have counterfeit passes now on their windshields, and they have Airbnb people that are escorting people from the mainland down here, just picking them up and driving them down here. Yeah, that's happening and stuff like that. But, then you have the day trippers and stuff like that, people that don't know about it. So July 5th, I guess, if they were thinking about that, they are putting that equation in there. Let's build that, go back to that equation again. You have $1, you say we have $1 amount sum to how many tourists that come down. Let's say there's 75,000 people that live in the Keys. And during, let's say, 150,000 additional people want to come down. I'm picking that number right out of my ass. Pretty much like the rumor I just said. I know it's a rumor. And I did put a disclaimer in there. Much like a lot of people that disagree with me. They rarely say that they're rumors and they don't cite their sources or things like that. But here I am. I'm putting the cart aboard a horse, because if it becomes true, then there's going to be this chain of reasoning they'll have to decide, and that reasoning will be the 150,000 people. Let's say they come down from Miami-Dade. Let's say it's bigger than would have been normally. Now, who say there's still people up in Miami that don't want to go and travel because they feel that it's a chance of getting infected. I think what happens is the people that are traveling right now are less likely to follow the guidelines because they're not concerned. They're not concerned over it. And people say, well, yeah, they're just living their lives. Yeah, but right now it's about consideration. If we're talking about infection rates and stuff like that, who knows who's going to get it and what the effects will be on them. And how many people, so that 150,000, let's say let's say there's day trippers and things like that. There's people that do long stays. So let's attribute $200 to each person. $200, which is $200. 100 times 150 would be 15, $30 million. $30 million, let's say. And that, I'm being generous. Let's say $30 million for the week. Okay, now there's people, you're going to be overhead and things like that for restaurants. Restaurants run about less than 10% profit stuff. So if the restaurant's profit in that one is $10 million, so let's say it's $1 million for them, 10%. And let's say the lodging establishes more like 30%. So they preserve and they get another 10 million. And that 10 million means $3 million after the cost of cleaning and whatever they have to pay and utilities and stuff. And then we have the people that do other ancillary services to the tourists, and that'd be boat charters, scuba diving, parasailing, things like that. And they get their bite of the apple. When in the end, let's say it all works out to be, I'll be generous, $5 million to the Keys. $5 million. And $5 million, if there was 100,000 people, let's say that's 500. Let's say $500 per resident. Now, there's going to be some, obviously, it's distributed a lot, not as equanimously, it's not as equal. So there's more people, some people making a lot more money than other people. Say you make $500 more. Now, you got to balance on the other side of the equation is how many people will get infected. And of those infected, how many people will die? Now, that's the amount of economic or financial gain you weigh. That's the equation. It's not whether you need, you go into bankruptcy or things like that. It's whether someone's near and dear to someone's heart. Or just any human life. They just die. Because you decide, let's say they do have, I think the fireworks may be canceled in Key Largo. Maybe not. But when they come down, if we're the only fireworks in town in South Florida, in the neck of the woods, that's going to be a draw event. And they will be standing there. If you ever seen the fireworks, people stand just right next to each other. And if it rains, they're in, they go at the hotels and stuff like that. And they're standing under the balconies and all these people out and about. So let's draw the similarities to Jaws. Let's see what happened there. So they had the young girl, the first one that was killed, and they call it a boating accident. And then you have the little boy when they reopen the beach and they decide it's a boating accident and stuff like that. And there's a little boy, and he's eaten by the shark. So then they call Amity, the Mayor Vaughn. That's the name of Larry Vaughn. Chief Brody brings in Richard Dreyfuss, and Vaughn says, well, we're just going to get a bounty for a shark. We're just going to do that. We're going to take care of business. July 4th is coming up. We got to make money doing that. So right after that, they have the big meeting of the county council. They have the mayor. Quinn comes up and says he'll catch the shark and stuff like that, but they ignore him. So they put a bounty out. They capture a shark. And they capture a shark. They kill a shark. And they assume that's it. That's the one. Much like some whatever arbitrary COVID-19 statistic made them decide to reopen up the Keys. And listen, I'm working in the restaurant business, so I have benefited from them opening up the Keys. I do realize that. But we're just talking about the political calculus right now for a July 5th date. So they send out all the bounty hunters out and they catch the shark and stuff like that and decide everything's done. And Richard Dreyfuss, who measures the bite radius, says that shark may have been the shark that did the attack, but he can't be sure because they have a slow digestive system that perhaps they can cut open the shark. They cut open the shark and they find out there's nothing in there other than a boot and a license plate from Alabama, I think, or something like that. Came up from the Gulf Stream, and their determination, Roy Schneider and Richard Dreyfuss, is that there's another shark out there, and they ended up reopening, even though the mayor's not listening. Mayor says no big deal. We got to make the money July 4th. If they don't have, we don't make the money July 4th. They don't have any food in the winter time. They got to make what do they say, 30% of their money July 4th. Now that's a little different down here. Now we've been closed for a long time, and people say it's just another thing that's hurting them, closing them down. I understand that, but July 4th, we're not as dependent on July 4th as, let's say, the people of Amity are. But they open up, and they have the shark spotters, they have the Coast Guard, they have everyone out there, and the shark still comes in, and it ends up killing a guy in a boat. Right? That's helping Roy Schneider's kid, giving him advice on how to open up the thing. And so that's it. They know there's a shark. Larry Vaughn's there, and I think right before that happens, he's being interviewed by a news thing. He says, "A beautiful day, the beaches are open. Come on down, July 4th, stuff like that." And that's what we're saying in the Keys right now. Even though Sombrero Beach is open, we say the Keys are open, the bars aren't open. We're trying to do it half-assed right now. And he also says, I think it's going to be one of the best summers we've had. But after that July 4th thing, after the repercussions, he's in a state of shock. He's shocked. Someone else died. Oh, there's definitely a shark there and stuff like that. And he's showing all the signs of PTSD and all that stuff. And he says, well, he's all nervous. He goes, I was acting in the town's best interest. Best interest. Economic interest. See, once that one person died, they knew, Roy Schneider and Richard Dreyfuss knew that there was a shark still out there. They warned the mayor. The mayor did his political calculus that, it's got to happen. Maybe that's the calculus that has to happen. He goes, maybe the board of county commissioners is smart enough to understand that all these people down here, and a lot of them not observing social distancing and wearing a mask, and coming from a highly infected area, which is a lion's share of the new cases are still coming from South Florida, that their political will is not strong enough to defeat the calculus of money over human lives. And we learned in Jaws that in the end, they had to send out one old guy on the boat, a young oceanographer, and a sheriff who hates the water, to kill a giant shark. That's an extreme example on how to handle a crisis. If they just kept, I mean, if they really wanted to do it, if they wanted to keep, um, what they could have just done is keep people out of the water. That would solve the problem right there. Just get the people out of the water. Shark did not. They did a bit on Saturday Night Live. They had a land shark. It would just come and knock on your door, and it would disguise itself as, a Mormon or Jehovah's Witness, say something like that. Not disguise wearing clothes. Just say it would knock on the door, and people say, "Well, how can I be sure it's not the land shark?" I'm not going to open the door, and then finally you say Candygram, and I open the door, and all of a sudden a shark comes through the door and starts eating them. Now, the shark's not coming to land. If you stay out of water, if you stay out of, swimming in the water, take care of the shark. And if we had sharks here and stuff like that, now obviously we've been killing sharks. If we had aggressive sharks eating people left and right, eating our snorkelers and scuba divers, that would be another thing down here. But we are tempting another fate right here, causing such a huge draw of people by a sink, I guess like a heat sink, because once the beaches are closed up there, once all the events are closed, all the venues are closed, where are the people going to go? What are they going to do? They're going to come down to the Keys. That's where it is. You're just creating an outlet. It's like, and yeah, it's a great business opportunity. But in the end, even if, what are the chances? Like, where's your willpower in the end? And once it's decided that afterwards that it was the wrong decision, are you going to say, we were acting in the county's best interest, in the interest of business people? There's people out there that file lawsuits against the checkpoint. I think there's going to be irreparable damage done to trust in the county commissioners if they decide to do it on the 5th. The best thing to do, I think it's going to be horrible, and horrible for me to say, is that they never considered closing it down at 5th. We're not. That would be ridiculous. And this is me, a guy who's an advocate for doing the best to restrict further outbreak. I'm concerned about my fellow citizens here in the Keys. That's where my concern is, and I'm concerned about the tourists, even though they don't seem to be very concerned about their own well-being. But then again, when a 5-year-old starts playing with fire and stuff like that, you don't get angry at the 5-year-old as much when they're about to set themselves on fire. You got to take the matches away from them. So I'm pretty much there. If this turns out to be something they're considering, I would suggest, if the Board of County Commissioners are considering that right now, do yourself a favor, pick up a copy of Profiles in Courage, and because that July 5th is just like an arbitrary, calculated, real insincere, cynical way to look at a date. It should be tomorrow or today or Monday or nothing. You're doing things half-ass and wishy-washy just make you look like the mayor of Amity. And you think he's going to have the mayor of Amity, but that movie was made in 1975. Let's say they had an election in 76. Vote for Larry Vaughn. He knew about the shark. That's all you can say. He didn't say he knew. He knew about the shark. And he did nothing until it was too late, So that in the end, you're throwing your careers away. Any further progress you were considering on doing, there's going to be a lot of people waiting to take your place. There's going to be the people that say, well, we should just let it run its course and just do this and that and fuck everyone. If you're not strong enough, don't, screw them. Or the people say, listen, we should have done everything we could by using masks and social distancing. And if we instituted that with everyone and made it mandatory, then we would reduce the impact, because every life we could have saved is better. And they're saying that right now, just to reiterate the one thing I'll say about the mask, that if 95% of the people in the United States wore a mask, that they've saved additional 30,000 people or 35,000 people, which is a crazy number. I mean, it's a lot of people. If you think that's significant, then maybe if you can think about that, maybe you make it easier for you to inconvenience yourself to wear a mask and not think that you're imposing. I just hear so many people say that if you feel sick, stay home. That's not about being asymptomatic and stuff like that. People get sick all the time. If it was a choice if only the people that got sick that were showing all the symptoms wore the mask, then I guess we'd have 30-40% more cases out there. But since some of us we're reducing it. It's not all of us aren't. If all of us were, if you both people wearing the mask, it reduces transmission rates. Just do that. Do it for someone else. Show that your consideration for someone else. So speaking of consideration, I want to talk about some other things. A toast. This is lighthearted here. Someone was suggesting at a birthday party I recently seen, and they were doing a toast, and someone raised their glass, and someone says, you have to have a drink in your hand. Well, they do have a drink. It's a glass of water. So it has to be alcohol. There's nothing in any rule books out there say that when you're toasting someone that alcohol is important. The toast, when you're toasting someone, actually the most important thing to toasting someone is what you're saying, not what you are drinking. It's what you're saying about someone or some institution, because we used to do toast in the dining. There's a formal Navy called Dining In, and you toast the president and then the chairman and Joint Chiefs of Staff and then the Secretary of the Navy and blah, 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 all this stuff, and all the way down. And it's just a formal way people toast. Now, yes, they said to charge your glasses and things like that, but there was never when anybody focused on the toast, it's on what is said, not what is drank. So I just wanted to correct that. And that brings me to another part. I recalled that somebody said to me that people don't change. Well, let me tell you about some place that things do change. And years ago, in the late 70s, early 80s, I think it was more in the early 80s, but late 70s, there was a soap opera that for some reason got real crazy. Now, I was in high school, and there was one thing I wasn't going to do. I was not going to watch a soap opera. Not because, but there were regular people watching soap operas, and there were two characters they made songs about, there were hits, and there was just the soap operas. It was it. It was Luke and Laura. And it was on a show called General Hospital. And it's just crazy. I mean, first of all, Luke at one point raped Laura. I think he raped her. It was definitely unconsensual sex. And Laura's boyfriend at the time, he was kind of like the hero, and the other guy was the villain. But during the show, they changed it around just gradually and stuff. They realized they liked the guy. I even remember the guy's name. I think it was Tony Geary. They decided to make him a good guy. They rehabilitated the character. How the hell do you rehabilitate a rapist on a show and put him back together with the woman he raped and make him into a love story? Now, you can correct me on that, but I think that's what happened. With soap operas, it's really great because, after a while, they'd get in contract negotiations with people, and they'd say the role of something Smith is now being played by, and they'll just, from one episode to the next, they'll just throw a new actor in. And that person will start trying to act like the character, whatever, whatever it was written for them. They'll just throw that character in and say, here, this guy didn't play ball. He died or got a movie deal, went on to bigger and better things. So we're going to get a new actor to play him. And they just go and reintroduce him. Imagine that in life. He goes, it's like a woman or a man who has, been married multiple times. Now the stepdad's going to be played by, Jacob Harbison. We're just going to bring people in. That's what the soap opera thing was about. It was rehabilitating, turning people from good guys to bad guys to good guys. And then every so often, you're just going to okay, here's a new character. This is a new actor playing this person. So, I think that if we took a lesson from General Hospital, we can always change because they made the most drastic of changes. And also, I did have once again, someone said to me that the words, "This martini is too strong." Let me just explain something to you. Our martini is almost always 80% liquor. It is 80% liquor. And true martinis are 100% liquor. True martinis are 100% liquor. And they're going to be strong. If you put them on ice and let it sit on ice, yeah, that's fine. But most of them are up, and that's it. That's all it is. Now, you got these flavored ones that are more cocktails, up cocktails in glasses. People like to call martinis. But I can make, when someone says something like that, I want a martini, but I don't want to be strong. What I do is I just put a little more mixer in it, put in an up glass and stuff like that, so they have a quarter of the alcohol. And then they feel better. Now, you go and drink. If you're going to drink 3 lemon drops, let me tell you, lemon drops, 80% alcohol. You're drinking vodka. You're drinking vodka with very little mixer. So if you have 4 of them in a 5-ounce glass, you're drinking about 16 ounces of alcohol. And you're going to be drunk. That's just the way it is. It's too strong. So for now, since we are going to July 4th, now I give you the disclaimer that this is a rumor. It's not necessarily going to happen. But if it does happen, they're going to have to explain themselves why they're changing, why they're doing it on the 5th. Now, I don't think it will happen now. How could you do it now? After anybody questioned and say, why would you do this? And if anyone were to die because of your decision, you knew the right thing to do. Like you knew to lock up. It's like having a gun and you're leaving it on a table when you know you could just lock it up. There's a safe there. Don't be angry, people. Either way, there's nothing really you can do right now. The Board of County Commissioners are going to do what they're going to do. If you're an advocate for staying open, you think it's fine to bring as many people down here, and you don't believe that it's an achievable goal to reduce the outbreak, then so be it. But if you do believe, then you're going to have to make some considerations when you're voting for these people. Just view on how they voted and how they behaved during this crisis. So this is Jim the Keys Bartender. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and until next time, goodbye.